Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Stephen McCall, and today is a major celebration for one of the rap greats of all time and Yonkers finest, the late great Earl Simmons. Happy birthday to one of the greatest lyricists and rough riders to ever bless the world with his presence. I still can't believe that it's been a few months since X left the world way too soon, but the tremendous impact and legacy he left behind says a lot. He was more than just an iconic lyrical warrior. He was one of God's powerful vessels sent by him to change and influence the world with his God-given talent. His music was so therapeutic and represented that real pain and hope. His message of triumph over struggle, his search for the light out of darkness, his pursuit of truth and grace brought us closer to our own humanity. Make no mistake, his presence was known, felt, and appreciated while he was still living. A true and real testimony from God. He was truly blessed with amazing lyrical gifts. He had a talent for grabbing your attention from the first bar of his verse with an aura of intensity earned by a dedication to pouring all of himself into records. At the peak of his powers, he presented one of the most highest profile expressions of availability in hip-hop. As the disputed reigning king of hardcore rap, he was that rare commodity, a commercial powerhouse with artistic and street credibility. He always remained true and real 100% to himself, and that's why we all love him and respect him. The voice of the streets who inspired so many who had that same pain. The number one quality I always loved, respect, and appreciate from him was his strong faith in God throughout his life and darkest battles. Growing up, everyone had their own top 5 of all time growing up. And DMX was one of my all-time favorites. I became a fan when he did guest appearances. The two of the most classic guest appearances that stood out to me the most was the classic posse cuts from Mace, 24 Hours to Live, LL, 4, 3, 2, 1, and the Locks, Money, Power, and Respect. To me, 98 was the best rap years for classic East Coast rap. And the best that stood out to me that year as a young fan of the game was definitely Lauryn Hill, Big Pun, Jay-Z, The Locks, and X. When It's Dark and Hell is Hot dropped, it instantly became a super rap classic and one of the best rap debuts ever. It had so many classic back-to-back bangers to listen to, like Get At Me, Dog, Stop Being Greedy, Rough Riders Anthem, How It's Going Down, etc., etc. I remember having that classic, and the top banger I always had on repeat was definitely Stop Being Greedy. But the super classic Rough Riders Anthem definitely solidified me as a lifetime fan. So when people ask me what's your number one all-time favorite DMX from DMX, I always say the debut, a true representative of New York rap who never left his originality. This continued when Flex of My Flesh and Blood of My Blood was released within 7 months of his debut and reached number 1 on the Billboard 200, making DMX the second rapper to have 2 albums released in the same calendar year debut at number 1. Tupac was the first. And then it was X, The Great Depression, and And Grant Champ doing the same thing, making him the only musical artist in history releasing 5 albums that debut at #1. During last year versus with Snoop Dogg, we were all happy to see him perform. Being happy and healthy on the outside, it was a good time reminiscing on the fun times growing up of the 90s. Versus was the perfect live show to get us through the pandemic. When he passed away in April, the whole community felt that unbelievable pain. You watched as the world paid tribute to a man who was fighting his own demons, becoming a true life inspiration. Although he's no longer suffering and in pain and then finally at peace with God, we always represent, appreciate, respect, love, and miss an important man who gave so much to the game. Thank you so much for giving us the classic soundtrack of our lives. Long live DMX, happy birthday, and continue rest peacefully in God's kingdom. DMX forever.